Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about knowing your characters and how that can dramatically impact whether or not you're actually ready to write the book that you're working on writing. I have been trying to write a standalone novel for a while now, and it's taking a lot longer than my series took to write. And I'm realizing as I'm going about that, it's because I don't actually know the characters in this standalone as well as I thought, or as well as I knew the characters in my series when I started writing my series. And the reasoning behind that, and also the reasoning behind why the characters that I'm writing short stories on my blog about are so much easier for me to write about than any of the characters in the books that I'm writing, I realized that the reasoning behind that was because all of the characters that I'm currently writing about as short stories or that were in my series were characters that I knew really, really, really well. Years upon years of writing them in different scenarios and different environments and different interactions with each other brought about a knowledge and an understanding of how those particular characters function. And the reasoning behind that is that a lot of them started as RPG characters. So I knew them. I was hopping into and out of their brains on a regular basis all the time. And because I knew them like that, writing them was so easy. And so I wanted to talk today a little bit about how you can get to know your characters just a little bit better. I have mixed feelings about a lot of these methods, but they work for a lot of people and they will help you get to know your characters, so they're worth trying, right? So the first option is to fill out a character questionnaire or create a character Bible. These things are essentially creating dossiers. Dossiers? Yeah, dossiers for your characters, as if you're I like to think of it as if I'm like a police officer investigating somebody and I need to have a profile on them so that I know how they would probably respond. That is one of the best ways for me, at least personally, to come up with and help actually create these characters that I know I need to know, right? So that's option one. You can find all sorts of different like character interview questions online. There's lots of options for that one, but essentially you just create here's like what they look like, here's what their family life was like, here's their favorite childhood memory, stuff like that. I told you I don't like these as an option very much because I never feel like the questions that are asked cover the right things. They never actually address the things that will be important in the kinds of books that I write. Like knowing my character's favorite childhood memory or their favorite flavor of ice cream will not actually help me when they're in the life or death situation that I'm going to put them in my crime suspense novel. That's not going to be a useful piece of information for me. It will be useful for other types of scenes, but in the majority of the scenes in my book, that information isn't helpful for me. But essentially that just means that I have to come up with my own questions so that I can do that. Or, and here's my preferred way of doing this, is doing what I'm doing with the short stories, is you take the character, and most of the short stories on my blog are not a traditional short story. They're mostly flash fiction in a more specific term, where it is a moment and a window into a certain moment in somebody's life. Whether that's fantasy or contemporary, whether that's criminal or whether it's civilian, it is a moment of insight into that person as if you got thrown into their body for the time being. And it's super, I like to think of them as being super deep, super gritty, super sensory, so that I'm actually physically feeling like I'm there, like I'm them. Those have been the most effective way for me to get to know my new characters, is to write little snippets like that, to just see how does this character go about their day? How does this character start their morning? what does this character like to do? What are their favorite coffee drinks? Like if this character were to go to a coffee shop and I put them in the scenario, I don't just fill out the question, I don't answer what their favorite coffee drink is, with like pumpkin spice latte, because I didn't actually take the time to ask them or think about it. But I send them to a coffee shop. What do they do when they walk in? What table do they look for? What chair do they look for? Do they talk to the barista? Do they stand at the end? Do they take whatever drink happens? Do they pay attention? These are all the questions that are far more impactful and far more important in my writing, in my getting to know that character, than anything that is ever actually asked in a character profile like that. So that's one of my favorite ways to do it, but you can go about and you can just answer all of the questionnaires. You can create the dossier if you want. Or you can just create a bunch of little short snippets where you explore how this character interacts with their world. None of those snippets have to end up in the book, but if they do, then you'll already have them. And I also think just knowing your character in terms of being able to step into and out of their brain, in and out, in and out, in and out, all day long at any given moment, can also help you know how to write them and to help you get into the zone to write that book a little bit better, a little more quickly, a little bit easier. Because for some people like me, when I'm in the zone, I am always just if I'm out of the zone, I'm only one step away from being in the zone for writing, and that step is a sideways step. It's not a forward or a backwards, it's a sideways into the other side, across the line into my world in my head. But in order to get to that point, I have to know the character so well, and I think that's where I'm struggling right now in the book that I'm planning on working on for NaNoWriMo. Is actually getting from that one character to the other and leaving my series behind and just trying to get entirely into this different mindset. Because in this book, some of the characters are really familiar, and those ones are really easy for me to write. But a couple of the other ones are very new to me, and so I have to find a way to get to know them to the point that I know the other ones, so that I can actually write the book. Anyway, there's just some thoughts on characterization, writing, and getting to know your characters. I'd love to know what things you always look for in your characters, how you get to know them, how you write your own books, what goes into your process when you're in the beginning stages as you're learning and figuring out what parts of your book you need to figure out. Do you plot? Do you outline? Do you just do character concepts? Do you get the entire vague idea of here's people, and then you just figure out how they interact, and that becomes the plot? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know down in the comments. And if you have other questions like this, like how to even start getting to know a character in the first place, I would love to answer those questions to the best of my ability, so please put them down below, and I will see you next time. Until then, bye. Thanks for watching. I have exciting news. I just switched over to Ko-fi, so if you look down below, you'll actually see a Ko-fi link instead of a Patreon link. Also, if you want to read some of these short stories like I was talking about, you can go to my blog at authorjjhanna.com, and you can read some short stories there. Okay, until then, bye.